Okay, so I'm back here and we're going to do more work on ICBM. So we've got the silos pretty much functional. They work. And from the last video, I went ahead and fixed the render offsets and the textures. Those are really easy adjustments. I'll show what I did in a second. So yeah, we got the missiles rendering now. Everything's rendering properly. We still have the render bounds to deal with. We might get to that in this video. I'm not quite sure. But when it came to fixing this, for translation issues, which is only the large silo had translation issues, and I know in the last video it's hard to tell that there was that problem there because the silo wasn't rendering flat out. The reason the silo wasn't rendering is because this part was missing. We just needed to define what tile needed to render. And then as well, translation had to be fixed. That is actually not correct. The proper translation is actually called offset, which would explain why a lot of this stuff is just not flat out working. Except for the item. The reason the item's not working is Volt's engine is identifying it as a non-item-based render, so it's not applying the render code for the items. That's the reason why when we look at this, we get little orange squares. And the reason we're getting orange squares is because if we go over to here, our default texture, if there's no texture there, will pull the metadata of a wool block. So if we actually place this down and... oh, well, that apparently doesn't work. Wonder why that broke. Something failed. Oh, yeah, I forgot to check to see if this was an instance of iTile event listener. And this needs to actually be tile instance of. No, this would be tile.get. No, it should be like tile. Yeah, let's get tile.get tile node. There we go. So I failed to check that real quick. That's an easy bug. Because we can continue going over everything. So this is going to have to be fixed. Fix the item render. When it comes to the translation and stuff, I did have to adjust the render offset for this. I did also fix the render of the missile and stuff. I think I did that in the last video. That was a few minor issues, like keys being missing and stuff like that. But the offset's a little weird too. For some reason, the Y offset on the standard missile is not quite right, and I suspect that is the model that is the problem and not the render code. There's a possibility that I'm going to go have to change how the missile rendering works, and it's going to have to provide. Really, what's going to happen is the missile is going to have to provide where the bottom of the missile is instead of trying to do a get height offset, because there's an issue with the get height offset for the simple fact that I don't think the standard missile has been centered. I think when it was made, the center point was put somewhere in the middle, but I think it's off by almost an entire block. And that'll have to be adjusted. You can clearly see this because this actually should be like 0.75 is what this should be, because the exit port for the standard silo is actually 0.75 off from the block. Other than that, let's go quickly nib at the render code for the item so we can maybe get that started, and we'll keep moving forward here. Okay, so let's see. That render code should be down here. Should be around here somewhere. Trying to remember where I threw it at. Probably here. Yeah, here it is. Item JSON render. Okay, so this code itself does not define what handles the render code for it. So that's probably done in the client proxy. Okay, so that's the icon listener right there. It's not what I'm looking for. This is where we register it. So we register at the very end. And it's looking for VE-item. Is that really what it's looking for? Does this key actually come into play? Equals ignore case data. System is exactly not designed well. So I'm going to sit here and look at it real quick. I want to see if we actually force something called VE item, because that just seems a bit strange. So we need to go find the test package, which is right here. And there should be some item renders in here. Yeah, it's literally called VE item. So the easy fix for this would be to just do a set of keys. So we can do something like this. So we go like string keys. And we would go, okay, for string key keys. And we would go if data.get. There's actually an ID for this, but it's not here. Probably because I'm not looking at it right. So it'd be probably render type. There we go, render type equals ignore case key. And then what we do is you register it real quick, and then you just break out of this because you don't want to register it twice. You only register it once. And then up here, all we need to do is shift this over, and then we can say, okay, I want to also support tile. So tile is our other render type, and we want to support both. And I don't know why we're doing it this way. I'm going to actually do this real quick, and we're going to support item as well. But I don't know why we got a separate one for VE item when it should just literally be item, tile, and block. Yeah, we're going to put block in here too. Because we're going to have, there may be some blocks that need to have 3D renders for them, but when you place them, they're not actually 3D. It may be some weird behavioral logic. Yeah, we'll do it that way. And then I'm going to obsolete VE item here. So we're going to go through and probably rename these to item. I don't know why they've got different names. Let's take a look at a couple of my renders real quick, and I want to see. Yeah, so the render type is block here, and the render type is tile down here. Okay, that should do it, because I think there's only like maybe 2 or 3 items that actually support that, and that should handle fixing our render system. Because the render code's already there, it just needs to be called. So what else were we going to work on? So yeah, we got to do the rest of the testing for getting the silos functional. So there's a few things with the silos that are not quite fixed. I have fixed all the offsets, so the missiles do fire properly. That means the standard silo is now functional. Quite a few people have reported bugs for the thing, even though it says work in progress right on the name. I think if you see work in progress and it doesn't work, you would just understand that it's broken and not report bugs that go, oh, it doesn't work. Well, of course it says work in progress underneath. It's also not craftable, and unless you use NEI, you can't get it out of the creative tab. It doesn't show up at all. It's actually not even supposed to register outside of dev mode. It is going to now because it's a JSON block, and I haven't set up the content disable system yet. Eventually, that will be a thing that'll let mod pack makers and server owners disable content. There'll be 2 options for disabling. You'll be able to just flat out remove the content, and you'll be able to replace it with a dead object. So what the dead object lets you do is that you can get the render code and stuff, maybe. I think we can do it that way. There is a bit of finickiness. I'm going to have to play around with that. So I'll have to toy with that. And what it'll do is you can turn it to a dead object, and the object doesn't disappear from the world. So if you ever have it crash on you and you can't fix it, but you want the server to come back online, switch it to a dead object, and what that does is it saves the tile as is, including all of its MBT. And you can just continue running the server, and nobody loses content, so that way you can just wait on a bug fix. Although most of the stuff is JSON driven, so if I'm assuming if one thing breaks, the whole thing will break. So that system is not exactly useful. That's going to be an edge case system, like if you run into somebody who's got custom tiles. And this didn't actually fix anything. At least our block isn't crashing anymore. So we still aren't getting item render there. At least that's a little bit better. By the way, there is going to be an exhaust port on here, so people wondering why I haven't got this functional. There's a couple more blocks I need to add for this, and I'm still not going to let it be craftable until I'm done with it. The standard silo is actually designed to be encased, so you're actually meant to encase it. If not, it will literally catch everything on fire inside your base. You have been warned. So you're supposed to encase it, and then, like on one side, you would have an exhaust port, and I'm going to use a furnace for this demonstration. So you'd have an exhaust port, and this exhaust port would go and it would shoot flames like that. If you fail to have it, it's still going to shoot flames, but what you could do with the exhaust port is say, okay, I want to put some pipes, and I want to get the exhaust port to go up and out of my base or something. Or you could just block it, it'll shoot flames out of there, but you have a chance you're going to damage your missile. There'll be a lot of handling for it, because the silos are meant to be used underground, is what they're meant to be used as. And that comes with a bit of limitation and everything. Oh wait, tons of missiles over here. These eventually do decay, by the way, for those who are ever wondering. There's code for that. The missiles will just disappear after time. But I'm going to go ahead and clean them up. I'm also going to turn my game mode back to easy, or peaceful, so I don't have to listen to slimes jumping around. Sorry for the coughing. Got a cold that has been really kicking me around. Okay, so what we want to test and fix right now, because the item render is going to take a few more minutes to fix, and I don't really care if it looks like this, because the reality of it is every single 3D model you see rendered here, I want to replace with a two-dimensional one. Not like these flat ones here, they'd be closer to like the Minecraft cards right here. They look 3D, but they're not 3D. Reality, what it might be is I might make something called a texture baker. It's a system that you use in game development to bake your textures and stuff, so that way you're actually not rendering 3D models if you don't have to. So if you have this really elaborate 3D scene out in the distance, there's a highly likely chance that it's actually not three-dimensional. It is two-dimensional because rendering a two-dimensional scene is so much faster than a three-dimensional scene. So that's the same idea behind turning these to 2D. So if you filled your entire inventory with, say, the silo display, you will actually notice a significant frame rate drop because these are not VBOs. If I were VBOs, actually, it wouldn't even matter. VBOs run pretty good. And I may switch over to them eventually as well for the more complicated models. And the launcher controller, I actually need to make the launcher controller look like this when it's in your inventory, and then make it only look like this when it's in your hand or something. It's actually, the render offsets aren't even fixed for it. So yeah, linking is what we're going to work on. So I need to get a data chip, and we're going to grab this guy, and we're going to put him over here. And we're going to grab this, and we're going to pop it in here. Okay, so it says the link code doesn't match. So I think we had this issue yesterday. We can actually close those two. This is a problem. This is more likely a problem with the controller. So if we go to the controller, we'll probably find what's wrong with it. And this will be a local controller. There's actually like several controllers. The remote controller is a direct controller. Direct controller is actually computer craft only, pretty much. You can, I think, use this with Redstone though. Yeah, this does support Redstone. I don't know how functional it is. I don't think I've ever tested it. But there's a computer craft and there's an open computer version of the direct controllers. So we want to look at this thing. Okay, so what we want to do is pop on that, and we're going to sit here and follow it through. So position looks good. We're inside the max distance range. It is a abstract tile. So now we have a problem with the code. The code is 0 for some reason. This is actually probably an issue with the data chip, actually. I'm surprised. It's actually not an issue with the controller. So the controller's programmed perfectly fine. What is wrong is it's trying to get an passcode instance from the tile. Right now it is getting a tile node, so it is getting the passcode correctly. But the data chip is not. So the data chip is actually designed to just pass in the passcode from the tile directly. But we want to make sure we're getting the node as well. So that'll be in the item section. And it's called item link tool. It's called data chip because calling it a link tool just sounded weird. This code's not documented very well. What we want to do, so here, there's the multi-block code here. So this means you can actually click any part of the thing, but I need to see where tile is used at. Okay, is sneaking. So we want to go, okay, if tile is instance of this, then we want to go else if tile is an instance of iTile node host. We then want to go and get the code from it. So we need to go, okay, and tile.get node instance of I passcode. And we just got to grab the node here. This needs to be cast. Oh, come on, IntelliJ. I know you can auto-cast and you're just being weird, stupid today. It's the problem with the auto-casting system, I think, is what the issue seems to be. I need to get code. Is that if you have more than two interfaces and an if statement above it, it's confused. It doesn't know which one you're trying to autocast to, even though you could logically figure out it's this one you want to autocast to iPasscode, and it doesn't care. At least that's my theory on it. The reality of it, it might be more complicated than that because of course we had to add get code to that and etc. Anyways, we can reload this and this should work now. We just have to re-grab the data. For those of you who are like, okay, already linked. Okay, and that means we want to link this guy. There we go. That's working now. We can now link again. We now need to test. Well, I guess we can fire this thing real quick just to make sure it still works. It works. Yeah, the fix for this, and I keep telling this to people who were complaining about this. It was literally like a 2-second fix to fix the silo, but the reason why I never wanted to fix it is because there's a lot of stuff missing to actually finish this. There we go, coming down, and it should collide. I didn't actually check what type of explosive that was when I put it in. Okay, you didn't land where you were supposed to land. You're supposed to land there. Why is there purple lines? Okay. Something weird with the texture. I'm not complaining though. It's not too big of an issue. I probably have an updated texture for this too, and I just haven't implemented it. My artist does give me quite a few things, and I just, for some reason, I'm too lazy to implement things. Okay, so we want to test the remote control now. So we need a silo command controller. We'll put this here. We need an antenna. We'll put this here. We'll then do this real quick. Make ourselves an antenna. And get some distance on it. I don't know if I ever did a tutorial on this, but it's important to actually do this part. The height of it gives you a certain base distance, but the arms actually give you more, if I recall right. It doesn't really matter if they're even or not. It's literally a directional base system, even though that's not how antennas actually work, but oh well. It's about the closest thing I can get to not being too complicated. And we'll place this, it doesn't really matter where we place this actually, but I usually like to place it on top of the controller. And we'll place this here, and click this one, and then click that. Invalid. Invalid link it out. Okay, so the connector is not working. So this is going to be down in the control, and then it's going to be in the remote. So that's going to be the connector, tile connector. Should be a linking section in here. So it goes invalid. It's looking for an instance of iLauncher. So ironically, the command controllers are programmed to be more interface driven than like half of the other machines. Um, okay. So yeah, we gotta. Why is this so much different than the other system? I feel like this is programmed not in all the same way. So let me go get. See, let's get the local one. Okay. So this does have a get tile node system. And okay, so we're gonna copy this section out, and we're gonna have. Gonna have to recode this section. Um, we actually don't need this part. Actually, no, wait, let's not copy this section. I have an idea. It's gonna take me a second to pull this off. So we want to go if tile is instance of I tile node host, then we want to do handling for that. If we want to go else, we then want to do the else handling. And actually, what we want to do, we want to go if tile is instance of I launcher. Then we want to go else down here. Then we want to do return invalid. So that cleans that up just a little bit, not a huge amount. We want to then do the error code here. And what we want to do is we want to get the node. So tile node equals tile.get tile node. Then we want to go, okay, is node instance of iPassCode and does node equal our thing that's invalid. We then want to do our instance of tile thing. So we're going to go if tile is instance of iLauncher, then we'll wrap that real quick because I for some reason I like the way this looks better than I like the way other things look. The one problem with doing it this way though is if the tile itself was holding all the passcode stuff for some reason and the node was using some other exotic interface, the two wouldn't link up properly. The thing is though is I'm going to assume, and I'll probably put this in the documentation for the passcode and everything, that if you're using a node-based system, it needs to go on your node. Most of the internal interfaces are going to be that way. There's going to be very few that insist on being on the tile, and that's going to be things like inventory code, because iCited has to be on the tile, or else you can't interact with most people's machines. There's no, I don't think Forge has a version of my inventory provider. I wish it did, because, oh my god, that system is so much nicer than what Forge uses. Somehow I get something wet on my desk. I don't think the roof's leaking. No, it's not. Okay. The only reason I noted to stop and check that is, even though this is a new house, it is raining pretty bad outside. So we're good. So this should handle everything, so I should reload and it should fix itself. Invalid linking tile, so let's link again. Still invalid linking tile? Okay. Okay. So we're just gonna have to follow it through real quick and see what I missed. That's what I missed. That's gonna run properly now. Yeah. Do the get. Oh, come on, you stupid thing. Where were we at? We were in this thing. I can remove this. It's probably gonna work now. Linking code does not match. Okay. And linking code probably doesn't match is because I didn't cast it properly. No, it's right there. Get code. So we get a node. Okay, we're gonna have to pass. We're gonna walk this through again. Oh, shoot, wrong key. Okay, so our code is 397. If we go to the node, our link code is completely, utterly different. What happened here? How did we get this completely, utterly different link code? Because our code's passed in from up here, and it's saying it's 397. Um, let's see. Tag map. Yeah, tag map contains it, so it is the item itself that has this problem. Let me clear it real quick and just see if that's an issue. So I'm going to grab this again, and we just crashed. Okay. Probably a cast class exception. Yeah, cast class exception. Okay. Um, the reason we got to do it this way though is we got to check for the iLauncher interface. Some other mod could decide they want to make a launcher, and we can't assume they're going to be using my node system, as that would be forcing logic and behavior on another mod that I don't really give a crap about. So we gotta not necessarily handle the whole thing here differently. We'll just take it easy way. I'm trying to think of like how to do this the most efficient way possible, and the answer is just doing something like this. So this will be iLauncher, and this will be needs to be cast to this. The reason we can safely assume this is an iTile node is there's only two ways you can get down to this step here, and that is for this to be an iTile node. And of course this will have to be cast as to, oh come on, I want auto cast again. I'm not talking about auto casting, by the way, is it would automatically put this in front of it if I hit alt enter and then fix. For some reason it's not doing that. We're good here, and my phone just vibrated. Facebook notification. I do need to remember to log into my phone here later and put a force field around my zombie base here. For those who don't know what I'm talking about at all, I play a zombie game, and it's like any other of your strategy games you ever play on a cell phone. You have shields you can put around stuff to prevent people from attacking it, and that's pretty much what I do most days. I just put a shield around my base and go AFK, because the whole PvP concept in that game is really broken. If you're high level, so if you're level 30, you can pretty much smash everybody in the game. It doesn't even matter if they're like one level below you, you still could smash them. So we're going to go and we're going to run debug, and that should fix. This does tell us that the whole system up here does work. We just have to... Actually, I have a better idea how to handle this. Give me 1 second, and I have an idea. I have a plan. I will fix this junk down here too. Get rid of this. And what we want to do is, if launcher doesn't equal null, make this that way. Copy this entire piece, throw it down here. So what we want to do up here is, what we're literally just going to do is we're going to get the node. So we're going to go, okay, if node is instance of iLauncher, launcher equals node. And then we would go else if tile is instance of iLauncher, and then we would go launcher equals tile. The reason we're doing node before tile is the node gets preference, because usually if there's iLauncher on a tile, but then you have a node at the same time, the likelihood is the iLauncher and the tile just passes everything to the node anyways. So you want to grab the node first and then prioritize the node. So node always gets priority over everything else. But this should work, so that gives us our instance of node. So what we're actually doing here is finding the launcher. I'm probably going to make a helper for this here later, because you see how this code is pretty much identical here. What I could do is create node.get class is instantiable by the interface here, and you would just have a method call. You'd be like, okay, I want to get the node or I want to get the tile, but they need to come back as an instance of whatever I want to get. And I've done this before. It is a pain in the butt. You use generics to do it, and this is the reason why I don't like generics is they break very often if you don't know what you're doing. Luckily, I can make this work, and it would remove the whole problem of having to separately get the node or the tile, because you would just go, okay, I want to get something of an instance of this, and I don't really care what it is as long as it comes back correctly, and then you can do your preferential for your node or your tile. And I'll have to look up how to do that because I always forget how to do the instantiation of thing. It's a weird Java backend thing that most people don't use. But this should fix itself, so we're going to hit run and debug. I need to prefab out this whole linking system because I want to use it on a little bit of everything. It's designed to be a way to link two machines together without being able to cheat it. The whole reason why there's a code-based system on there is because what I could do is if I just used a location, is somebody could cheat the item and somehow get it encoded with the location of your silo, then encode it to their launcher, then launch your missile back on yourself. With the added code on there, it becomes harder because now you have to guess between 32,000 different codes, and that means the likelihood of somebody pulling it off is really, really low. It's not impossible because somebody could brute force if they really wanted to, but it means that it's really, really hard. And eventually the codes are going to auto-change themselves every couple hours. They're just going to cycle. And if it becomes a really big problem, I'm going to start using hash codes and stuff, or I'm going to start using linking objects. The absolute way to prevent it is to use a link object, which would go, okay, here's my exact instance of my linking ability, and then that's a unique object that is only for that exact tile, and then it'll disappear as soon as you're done linking. So you'll have a one-time link, which would defeat several different advantages to doing systems, but I'll figure it out later. And for those who'd be like, oh, you're trying to make it too impossible to hack things, I do actually want to support hacking, but I want to do it fairly and legitly through the game. And what I'm talking about is like Fallout style stuff. I don't want somebody taking an external program, linking it up to Minecraft and cheating. That is cheating. That is something that should be banned and prevented in the game because you're exploiting the flaws of the game in order to win, and that's not what the game is about. What I want to do is I want to support things like you be able to take computer craft or open computers and you be able to hack into a silo and utilize it that way. That's fair in-game usage, and that'll be pretty good because then that gives a whole new flexibility to everything. And we crashed again. Oh, we crashed because of this. Derp. It's actually why we didn't crash, but bear with me. There we go. That is a problem. Anytime you're concerned if you're actually utilizing a variable in a wrong location, just misspell it real quick and the compiler will tell you where everything is. The nuances of dealing with this stuff. And I probably need to separate out this part from this part, and it would fix. Actually, no, hold on. We're gonna do that real quick because that is actually a pretty smart thing to do. So I'm gonna go private iLauncher get launcher, and we're gonna pass in location. So location. Location. If you guys know that joke, you guys probably don't, and I'm probably gonna get yelled at for that later. You guys would be impressed to see what my email account actually looks like. Why is there a two posit? You could just do location dot. No, I don't want to do. I want to do loc dot is above bedrock, and then you can do loc dot distance. I'm actually confused why there was a separate pause there. So this will be iLauncher launcher equals get launcher and then loc. Ah, this is why it actually exists. Luckily, we can just do this. Pos equals loc.toPos. It needs to be converted to a pos because we store it, and if we were storing the location, location is not equivalent to a pos in both directions. It's only equivalent in one direction. Cool thing is we can do some stuff like this. We can fix this and go like get tile entity, and we need to return launcher. This will most likely make its way to a prefab, so I'm actually going to note that later. To do throw into helper class. So this would be really thing. You go through this in like the API or something, and then you can easily access launcher no matter what. The local controller probably actually needs this to function better, because then if somebody makes their own launcher, the local controller doesn't work on their own launcher. The local controller only works on the abstract launchers right now. And god damn it, Facebook! If Facebook sends me like 2 emails, then sends me like 3 texts, then sends me a message on my other email account, all for the same notification. Spammy is what it is. And I don't remember my login to go in and fix it too, so I'm kind of like screwed. And if you type into the text message, it actually goes to reply on Facebook directly, which is, I guess, kind of cool when you think about it, that you could use your text message system to reply. Still annoying though, especially when you consider that Facebook's got their own app, plus then they got WhatsApp, plus then they got a couple other apps, plus then they're doing everything else. So all these notifications are kind of blarg. I miss the days when Facebook wasn't a thing. Then again, we had MySpace back then, and that was just as bad. Although the cool thing with MySpace is you could make your own little custom pages and stuff, and I still remember spending like a couple hours at a library just making a custom MySpace page, and it was, of course, all Halo themed because at the time I was into Halo, and that was the only thing I was into. That's the reason why you'll see I'll buy a lot of Halo merchandise still to this day, is I love the franchise, even though I kind of have been saddened by the newer releases. They don't really live up to the older versions. Because you get Halo 1 and 2 were really, really good. 3 started to kind of nosedive. ODST kind of brought it back a little bit. 4 was okay. 5 kind of got a little dark. Reach was an interesting twist. I like to see more games like Reach where they're offshoots. That's the reason I liked ODST so much, is it was an offshoot. You weren't playing Master Chief. You got this whole universe, and you should spend more time talking about other characters in the universe and not just Master Chief. Because after all, at this point, Master Chief has gone down the dark side, and I don't think he's ever going to come back. Unfortunate. It was bound to happen, though. You can't have somebody who's like that, and then they stay good forever, as Batman is, or in the Batman universe is noted. You either die fighting for what you believe, or live long enough to become corrupted, or whatever. I'm definitely not quoting that properly. But you got to imagine that is going to happen to Master Chief at some point, because he's not exactly driven by... come on. Link codes are still not working. Link updated .name. That is, what is that? Oh. That's, that is new. I don't think I've ever hit that one. That's the reason why I didn't know that existed. So we need to name the group ID, so this will be Silo Group, and it'll just be called Silo. And then we need to link the controller to this thing. Then we need to link this to this thing. By the way, you link this to the display. So what you're doing is essentially you're attaching a cable to the display. The displays are designed to only be linked to one machine at a time, by the way. But this thing has no clue how many of these displays are connected. So you can have a near infinite amount of displays connected to your system. Keep that in mind, by the way, because these have no passwords on them, and you can... Okay, you're not working. Did I mess something up? Click. No, you're already linked. Display name. Silo base. Save. That GUI still needs work. Okay, click. Already linked. There's There's something missing here, and I think it has to do with the fact I didn't turn the antenna on yet. Okay, so the antenna has to be set to online mode, and then it has to be set to generated network. Okay, so that's not the problem. We're gonna do this real quick. I don't need this to be really big. It can be 1 block tall antenna. Make it 2 block actually, because it looks weird when it's that way. I need to replace the spiky thing. That's actually an lightning thing is what that top piece is. For those who are wondering why the hell it looks that way, it's a lightning thing. I actually think this one could be on receive only mode, but it doesn't matter. I actually don't remember how I coded this. Okay. Okay, so this should connect to this guy, but it's not. So that's telling me something is not quite working properly in this thing right here. Because this will not show up on that unless it has missiles in it. So what did we screw up? I have a feeling it's this. Yeah, it's that. Of course, we have a system here that's designed to kill off the system if it's not functional. So we go launchers instance of iTileNode, and then launcher dot get host dot is valid. I know there's a method here for this, or maybe it's launcher dot is valid. Might be a method for that. There is no invalidate method. I could have swore I made one. Okay, you're not what I'm looking for, I don't think. iNode. It should be iTileNode. mcapi tile.node. So is this the right node? I don't. Oh, I guess there's a first tick in here. Oh well. There should be an invalidate method in here, and there's not. I wonder what happened. I need a name for this method that is not the same as a Minecraft method, because if you name your stuff the same as Minecraft methods, your shit will get refactored. I want to do is functional, because that would define that there was a function, and that's not what we're looking for. Is host valid? So we'll go ahead and make that, and then what we can do is we can go. Still not. Why is it behaving like? Oh, it's good. I need to go call get host and then host.is valid. Okay. And that needs to be a not, by the way. What's actually going on is I believe the server actually knows that there is a launcher there, but I don't think the client actually knows there's one there. We're gonna go and tile.get tile node is instance of I launcher. Then we want to grab this part here. There we go. So that should re-grab our launcher. I'm trying to see if there's any other spot down here where... Okay, so get silo is always the same thing. Yeah, that all looks good. So that should fix that problem. I'm gonna have to restart though, because I added a method. And if I hit build, it's gonna error out on the wrapper real quick, because I added a method to the wrapper. Still weird. I honestly believed that I actually added a check for this already. I probably didn't and accidentally got deleted, is what actually ended up happening. So what we do is when it go is invalid, so easy wrapper. And we'll go through this up next to our checks up here, because that's basically what this is. It's an invert of is invalid check, which is just a Boolean, and that Boolean is ticked by this up here. So we'll just do an invert of the thing. And yeah, that should be good. I still need to replace this with a listener though, because there's an unload a load event. Whatever, it works. I don't need to worry about it right now. So we're gonna hit launch and we're gonna work on this again, and we're getting almost to the end of this video. YouTube must be thrilled I'm making an hour-long videos. I mean that sarcastically, by the way. I almost give up on understanding what they want anymore. I think they're moving back to the 15-minute videos. Or rather, I think they're moving to somewhere between 20-minute and 40-minute videos, because those work really well with their TV system, because then you can insert large ads in between them and you get these episodes which are under 30 minutes in length for your minor ones, and then in order to have a full hour-long one, they need to be like under, I think, 50 minutes or 40 minutes. And then you insert all the commercials. If you actually paid attention to the amount of commercials per episode you watch on normal TV, you'll notice very quickly that the episodes are actually very short. They're usually like 36 minutes for hour-long ones, is if I recall right. And then if you've ever seen Rick and Morty, they're like 20 minutes to 23 minutes. It looks like my little dog wants attention. Come on, Taz. I'm doing work. I'll play with you in a bit. Okay, I think I dazzled the dog for a second by tossing one of her toys across the room. She's thrilled eating her little fox toy. Okay, so we're back to working on this again, and if that indeed was the problem... Oh, there seems to be a problem with saving the group ID. Did we close properly? That may have actually why this isn't working. If we hit save and quit and then come back in, that should work. If that's not working, then I need to fix that. No, it's working. Let me make sure everything's still linked. No, everything's not linked. That means I didn't close properly. Except that's already... Wow. That wasn't linked. Weird. There we go. We got our silo. It does say no connection, probably because the client doesn't understand that that is a node rather than a normal tile. Some reason we got 2 pages though. The reason we got 2 pages is actually because that one's over there, and I need to fix that. If it's an empty page, it don't show. We can't interact with the GUI with that, so we'll have to fix the GUI real quick. Yeah, switching to the node system probably wasn't my brightest idea for doing the 1.8 update, but oh well. So we need... There is a GUI for the silos. I'm trying to remember where it's at. I think it's right here. Okay. Okay, so it is looking for tile abstract launcher. How does this work? Actually, you know what? I need to go actually look at. I need to go look at the displays GUI. It's the one that's saying we're not connected. Okay. Okay, so we get the connector. Okay, it's display names. Silo connection data GUI get silo length name etc. data get status. Okay, so data status. Okay, that is going to be under the connector. And if we go get status, and if we go get silo equals no connection, okay. Okay. So where are we at right now? So this is our silo, which looks good. Okay, Okay, so we're not invalid. Our launcher is null. We do have a world. Block does exist, which is a chunk loading check, by the way, for those who want to know what it is. Put that line there. Hit play again. Why is the tile still null? We're going world.getTileInity X, Y, and Z. What is X, Y, and Z passed in there? Integers? It's a rounding error. It's one that went unnoticed too. So what we need to do is put these here. This is how I fixed it. If you guys saw my video on me working on assembly line, actually, I don't know, did I do a video for that one? I probably did. I had a similar issue like this, and it was a problem where we were not flooring the integers and they were rounding up rather than down. So, how to fix this actually? This is a legitimate problem in the connector data. And I don't think it clears itself if you just simply unlink something. So I'm going to have to do that, break that. We're going to have to make a new one right next to it. Put that there. Link that to that. Name this. You don't actually need to name these to use the display. But it does help. Yeah, there we go. Fixed. So, simple rounding problem. And I can go it. I should be able to open that up. Why isn't it opening? Okay, that's the next problem to fix. Yeah, you'd be amazed. So just simply switching to the node system has broken a huge amount of functionality. So we know the button's enabled. So now we need to come down to action performed. This is why I want to switch to a JSON GUI based system. This is a mess. Okay, here's our next button. Here's our something buttons. It's got to be, yeah, it's got to be these things. Okay, so there's 2 button rows. One of these does something. So this one is a fire button, this one's the open GUI button. So if we go here, OpenGUI, is server super OpenGUI, okay. Send packet to server. Tylo silo interface client. So be super. Okay, then we go connection data.has silo GUI, and we go connection data.open GUI. So we need to go back to our connection data again. So that's another bug. It's probably in the connection data. So get silo doesn't equal null. Get silo's instance of this. We get the silo. So we want this right here. So open this up. Okay, looking at this thing here, and we're just going to see what it does real quick. Yeah, it's functional. So it's got to be a problem with the OpenGUI call, because it called everything properly. So now we have an issue with the fact that even though we're clicking the GUI to open, it's not opening. This is a issue in the abstract proxy. So if we go down to core, and that'll be MSC library mod abstract proxy. I could have swore I put implementation in it for this, and I guess I didn't. So I'm gonna go else if tile. So this is the weird thing is I always note this on a couple of my videos, is I clearly remember doing something, and I know I've done it, and then I'll come back and I'll go like the code isn't there, and I can't tell what is happening. There's a couple choices that are probably unlikely. The first one is I actually coded it, and something reverted the changes. That'll be source tree because it's done it to me before. I imagined I wrote it, or I dreamed I wrote it. And those two last ones have actually happened to me before. And I've actually had a situation where I knew I coded an entire mod, and I thought, like, quite literally thought I coded it because I could remember where all the code pieces were. I could remember where everything was connected, and then it occurred to me that it was a dream that I actually had where I coded everything. And then you may find that funny, but I mean, it happens to people. This will be words. I tile node host. Yeah. That's why I kind of think I have brain damage sometimes. Doesn't help that my dad told me that when I was little I got dropped on my head repeatedly. Not something you tell somebody. Okay, so put this down here, and we just need to grab this piece, put this here, and that should fix the issue. And we just need to duplicate it up here, although up here we need to change it what we're actually calling. Actually, you know what, that's the wrong one. We need to duplicate it downwards, not upwards. That's an entity packet system, so this is... Apparently these aren't in the placement I thought they were supposed to be in. Reoccurring theme there. This is good. I mean, I actually do recall putting it this way. Like, I know that I separate the server from the client, and it's whatever. It's on the proxy. It works. So if we reload. For the entities, so wherever the entity is, I need to actually do the node system to it too. But there we go. It's fixed. So I can now open this up, and I can name my silo, which we're just going to call AA, or AAA, or AA. Hit save. It's now changed the title. I can hit fire on it if I actually had a missile. I don't know why it's detecting there's a missile in that tube. We'll go ahead and put one in. And we'll stick this in here. And then the next step to testing this is the laser detonator. If the laser detonator works, then the whole silo system works and it's functional. The only thing I gotta do is fix some retarded texturing problems. So encode, and that gets us all of our stuff. And then what I should be able to do is, boom. That should come down right on top of the pig. I actually did that intentionally. I want to see if the missile will kill the pig on impact. What is debug info? ETA 1 second. I still need to fix the ETA system. I don't think the ETA is taking into account the up and down time. It's only taking into account the horizontal time. And I completely forgot this is an accuracy problem. And the cake is still broken. I gotta fix that. That's not a pig, that's a sheep. I didn't know they spawned with collars. I need to make a missile that changes. Oh, dude, I need to make a dying missile that just dyes colors randomly. We'll do that if, you know, I need to make an issue ticket for that because I'm going to completely forget about it. So issue, new. So this will be confirmed, low priority, and submit issue. Okay, so I'll have that remembered. And we're going to go ahead and end this video here because the only thing I got to do is fix localizations, translations, and item renders. So I'll see you another time.